All right, a very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us tonight on the broadcast. It is the 28th of April 2025, actually the last Monday of April 2025, and a lot has been happening in what happens on social media. You're aware that the country is having conversations on the documentary released on Blood Parliament. This is something that has sparked so much reactions, with some saying that it is time for our investigative authorities to take action. Others are saying, why now? Why release that documentary right now when the country is struggling to position itself as an economic hub, inviting investors to the country? What picture is it painting of our president, that is President William Ruto, concerning the killings that happened on the 25th of June 2025? So those are just the discussions that are going on in the country. Far much more that we have for you in store tonight, but first let's get an introduction.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Anyango, Sylvia.
That's right, and on the interpretation tonight, that is on the sign language interpretation, is Eugene Ofula. Remember, this broadcast is also coming to you live on YouTube at KUTVNEWS Kenya, and you can also send us your feedback on X at KUTV_Kenya, at Anyango Sylvia KE. Now we begin. The cracks within the broad-based government formed by President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga appear to be widening. This follows calls by Ruto's allies for their ODM counterparts to stop publicly opposing the broad-based government. Our political reporter Blue Smile Hassan analyzes how the political marriage started falling apart and examines whether these two parties can remain united until 2027.
It is a political marriage seen as a potential solution to ensuring President William Ruto's re-election come 2027.
Leo tumeweka sahihi kwa mkataba.
The broad-based government between the ruling UDA party and ODM was formalized through a signed MOU between the two parties on 7th March 2025. This led to some key ODM figures joining government and taking up significant roles in major ministries and in National Assembly and Senate committees.
Leo mimi na baba tumeweka sahihi maelewano ya kuunganisha taifa la Kenya iwe taifa moja.
But now, things seem to be falling apart. Internal conflicts are emerging within the broad-based government, with everyone pulling in different directions. Tensions surfaced during the funeral of Raila's where ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and Governor James Orengo clashed with colleagues supporting the broad-based government.
We can say many things, and me, I cannot be praise singing, because we fought for a democratic constitution where people should talk, where people should talk, where people should talk.
Governor Anyango followed suit when President Ruto proposed that the road maintenance levy fund be left for the national government. Governor Anyango accused President Ruto of undermining devolution. The remarks by the governors and some of Raila's allies sparked internal strife in ODM, with many seeing them as opposing the broad-based government, which, according to them, has brought development to the Nyanza region.
We demand that Sir Governor James Orengo unequivocally apologize publicly to Raila Amolo Odinga over what he did during the burial of Raila's bodyguard.
Raila Odinga, noticing the cracks within his house,
nilisema za kwamba sisi tuko demokrasia. Na demokrasia kila mtu ako na haki ya kuongea.
But now, Kenya Kwanza allies are urging ODM leaders to stop the doublespeak of publicly criticizing Ruto's government while still being part of it.
Na asubuhi tunazungumza upande huu unazungumza tofauti, jioni upande huu unazungumza tofauti. My brothers for this region, huu umma huu unawategemea sana kwa matamshi yenu. Let us not confuse this community.
As these divisions continue to deepen within the broad-based government, questions have arisen as to whether this Ruto-Raila broad-based government can weather the storm and govern effectively. Political analyst Brian Masjid says that whilst it is possible, the political turbulence could intensify.
This pact between ODM and UDA is very different. It is not imposed by any international partner or international community. Fundamentally, ODM and UDA are rival parties. They were built on different philosophies. The philosophy of ODM is very different from the philosophy of UDA. And this is making them not to coexist peacefully because they hold different ideologies, they hold different views. So in the sense that the views are contradicting because one party holds a different view, the other holds a different view. For instance,
Masjid notes that if ODM decides to field its own presidential candidate in 2027, separate from UDA, this political marriage will lose its foundation and fall apart.
This marriage will likely collapse before 2027 elections. The moment ODM will officially nominate a candidate to vie for the presidency, then the marriage ends because both of them will be in need to campaign against each other because they will be rivals.
Blue Smile Hassan, KUTV.
Now, still on politics, President William Ruto continues to encounter mounting resistance from critics determined to make him a one-term president. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has now emerged as the leading voice of this opposition, with his recent remarks clearly portraying him as a man on a mission to unseat his former boss. Anyango explores the evolving political landscape.
Harambee! Harambee! Nikisema Kasongo aende mnasema antam. Kasongo aende! Kasongo aende! Ni muongo si muongo?
It is now clear that former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has turned against his former allies, this time with the clear intentions of dismantling their hold on power.
Kasongo ni muongo si muongo? Yeah? Ni muongo si muongo? Aende asiende? Aende asiende? Atembee asitembee? Wangapi wanasema Kasongo aende, Kasongo aende, Kasongo aende, Kasongo aende?
While Gachagua mounts his political offensive, President William Ruto has secured billions of dollars in loans during his visit to China, a move many critics argue will further strain the burden on Kenyan citizens. Ndindi Nyoro, a vocal opponent of the rising national debt, has been at the forefront of addressing these concerns.
Government assets exist to make money for the government. They do not exist as jewels. Zile assets ambazo serikali iko nazo, zingine hata hakuna fedha iliwekwa hapo. Government stake, for example, in Safaricom is more than or going to 300 billion Kenya shillings. It was more before. If we value an asset like Safaricom very well, the government can easily get the monies that we are borrowing externally by selling just a proportion of Safaricom as an institution.
Nevertheless, President Ruto appears to be charting a path forward.
As the first African state visit to China this year mirrors my 2024 visit to the United States, the first African state visit there in 15 years. Perhaps, symbolically, Kenya can serve as a bridge between East and West, North and South, in an era of deepening geopolitical tensions.
Despite the growing wave of criticism, Ruto remains steadfast in his ambition to revitalize Kenya's economy, a vision firmly supported by his loyalties.
Hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, kama kuna watu wanafaa kujifunia ni watu wa hii mlima. Kama kuna watu wanataka wajue hii serikali ni yao, ni nyinyi.
Besides you as our deputy president in this government, tuko na mawaziri 7 kutoka Mount Kenya in this government. Tuko na PSs moja PSs 15, 15 principal secretaries from this Mount Kenya region.
However, questions remain. As 2027 approaches, will Ruto lean on Raila Odinga for support, or does he have a strategy to neutralize his critics?
Najua mtihani ni 2027. Na hiyo mtihani ya 2027 sipangi kuanguka hiyo mtihani. Hiyo mtihani ya 2027 mimi najua vile nitapita hiyo mtihani.
Tensions on the ground are quickly rising as the 2027 elections approach. Political realignments are happening, with the parties like Bas Party adjusting their positions, although they have publicly distanced themselves from any talks of mergers. The political scene is now rapidly taking shape, and Kenyans are watching closely to see which directions their leaders will take. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
Now, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, has expressed worry over the rising cost of implementing public participation processes as required by Article 10 and 118 of Kenya's constitution. According to Mudavadi, estimates for public engagement efforts range from 10 million Kenyan shillings to 100 million Kenyan shillings per exercise, depending on magnitude and geographical coverage. Speaking at the high-level meeting with the United Nations country team led by resident coordinator Stephen Jackson, Mudavadi warned that the current cost model is unsustainable, pointing out that such financial demands could deprive vital sectors like health, education, and infrastructure of critical funding.
There are two issues that we are grappling with. One is cost in terms of the financial implications, and then the other is cost in terms of time, the lead time between formulating something and implementing. And that, of course, feeds into the political boiler room, depending on how you manage it. So we really need some urgent intervention here, I can tell you that. We are seeing proposals of public participation for one piece of legislation ranging from 10 million shillings to 100 million shillings. It's not tenable. It cannot work. If you talk of how many roads would you do, how many water projects would you do that have the direct impact on the people, how much medicine can we provide in public institutions. So this is a constitutional issue, but we need to rationalize it without undermining the whole aspect of the constitution. So
now, it's yet another blow for the former Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala after the High Court upheld the UDA party ruling of removing Malala as the Secretary General of the party and instead appointing Hassan Omar to take over the position. Delivering his ruling today at the Milimani High Court, Judge Bahati Mwamuye dismissed the orders that had been issued by the political parties' dispute tribunal that had barred the registrar of political parties from appointing Hassan Omar as the Secretary General of UDA in place of Cleophas Malala. Judge Mwamuye stated that Malala's appeal before the tribunal stands terminated and cannot be heard or proceeded with by the tribunal. UDA removed Malala from the position of Secretary General on August 2nd, 2024, after several weeks of intense wrangling within the party. The expulsion followed a resolution of a National Executive Council (NEC) meeting chaired by the party's national chairperson, Cecile Mbarire. Now on that note, we are taking the very first break on the broadcast tonight. Stay with us.
Baada ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi hawana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili
bila uoga. Watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi, hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Anyango, Sylvia.
Welcome back. Now on to a sad news tonight. 5 persons were killed and several others injured on Monday in Angata Barikoi in Narok County as a result of violent encounters between residents and security forces during a disputed land delineation exercise. Tensions over ownership of a 6,800-acre piece of land spurred unrest, with irate people barricading highways, torching several vehicles and confronting police, resulting in violent clashes. As the community mourns, officials are urging for immediate action to solve the long-standing land dispute that are fueling the discontent. According to Joel Langat, the officer in charge of Angata Barikoi Health Center, 4 people were brought in dead, while a 5th succumbed to gunshot wounds while undergoing treatment.
Hatukuja Angata tunyanyaswe. Wale watu wameuawa, ng'ombe ameibiwa hapa. Ng'ombe akiibiwa aende, hakuna serikali ambayo anashughulika. Juzi ng'ombe 13 waliuawa, mahindi yanafyekwa, lakini serikali hashughuliki. Akifika maneno ya shamba, watu wanauawa. What kind of government is this?
Hii kisaka ilitupata tukiwa kwa shamba, nikiwa ninapalilia kwa shamba. Ndio akaanza kupiga marisasi juu mpaka akanipa hiyo majeraha ambayo mnaiona kwa kichwa.
Sisi tulikuwa tunapalilia. Kidogo kidogo tunasikia
mlio ya risasi. Kidogo kidogo watu wameanza kupigwa ovyo. Kuinuka kidogo ndio watu wameanguka. Sasa tunashindwa jamii, kama ni shamba Ruto angechukua shamba, lakini hawajawahi watu. Tunatumiwa haki, tuko na haki kwa shamba yetu juu hatukuiba. Tuko na kilio kubwa juu tumepoteza ndugu zetu.
On that note, I honestly think that land disputes should be included among the 1,000 ways to die, fighting over land. Anyway, moving forward, 18 years after the 2007-2008 post-election violence, internally displaced persons, that is IDPs from Migori County, are demanding compensation as per government agreements. Jared Ochieng, chairperson of IDPs in Migori, criticized delays in payments despite funds being allocated. Mary Binsari, who lost her child and endured trauma, called on the government to honor its promise. Despite the 17.5 billion Kenyan shillings spent, many IDPs remain uncompensated, fueling anger and frustration.
Mwezi wa 10 walipata 10,000 na watu kama sisi hatukupata. Baadhi ya watu wengi sana hawakupata hizo pesa. Kwa koti tukapeleka ujumbe kwa parliament. Ikawa tumeingia huko, tukaweka maneno huko kwa parliament. Baada wakapitisha kwamba tulipwe tena. Kwa hivyo tulikaa tumepoteza, tunangojea wakati ili sisi pia tulipwe hiyo fidia yetu. Kwa hivyo sasa pesa imeshatoka muda mrefu sana, wamekubali kutupatia hiyo fidia. Tunaomba serikali waharakishe haraka ili watu.
Now, residents of Embu County living in landslide-prone areas have been cautioned to remain vigilant following heavy rains that have triggered a massive landslide in Kamutungi village. Over 3 acres of farmland have been destroyed, leaving families devastated.
A massive landslide struck Kamatungi village in Embu West Sub-County last Tuesday, carving a 10-foot deep gully across 500 meters and sweeping crops, beehives and water infrastructure into River Ena. Over 10 families lost their lives, with arrowroot, muguka and sugarcane farms destroyed. Embu County Commissioner Jacob Buo has cordoned off the area, urging residents to stay away until proper assessments are conducted to ensure their safety. He confirmed that the County Disaster Management Committee is already assessing the broader impact of the heavy rains across the county and is advocating for strict safety measures.
Tumetoa
visible in surrounding areas.
Tulikuwa tukitumia hii shamba kulima na kuuza hiyo vitu. Tulikuwa tunalima miwa, ndoma, mandizi. Ndizo tulikuwa tunasomesha watoto wetu nazo. Ndizo ilikuwa tegemeo letu. Ukiangalia hii ni kama eka 3 ilienda. Tunaogopa hata turali. Usiku mtu anasikia kitu ikitingisha kidogo, ikiangusha kidogo, tunasikia uoga.
Meanwhile, the county commissioner also revealed that authorities are closely monitoring the 7 folk dams, which are filling up rapidly, to prevent any disaster and ensure timely updates are provided to relevant authorities. Brenda Nyongesa, KUTV.
Now that story by Brenda Nyongesa takes us to the second break on the broadcast tonight. We'll be back with sports.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mkwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
they find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated.
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Now, welcome back. In sports tonight, special schools in Busia and Bungoma have appealed to the government through the Ministry of Education and Sports to increase funding for Term 2 school games. Teachers and learners speaking at St. Bridget Akkurat Special School for the Deaf emphasized that enhanced support would allow students with special needs to showcase their talents at the international level. Boaz Makoha, a para-volley coach from Nalondo CBM, urged the government not to overlook talent in special schools, noting these learners have never been supported to participate in East African Games. Learners also requested for school buses to help develop their talents beyond Kenya.
We've been playing these games for quite some years, but we have only been reaching at national level. So my appeal to the government through the Ministry of Sports and also the Ministry of Education is to allow our special needs games also to participate in East African Challenge competition, because we have never been given that opportunity and we are not able to expose our participants to the rest of away from Kenya.
Tunaomba kama sisi wanafunzi juu kwa sisi kabisa ndo wametutupa nyuma kulingana nao wengine wenzetu wana ule uwezo wa kutembea. Rais, mwaka huu kweli tukumbuke pia nasi juu pia sisi tuna ule bidii ambao huwa tunatoa, lakini hatujai kabisa kuonekana kabisa tuna ule uwezo juu tukifanya si uwezo wetu hakuna hadi kitu tunatuzwa kabisa naye.
Juu last tuko tumeambiwa tunaenda Egypt but wakadelay kutuletea passports. Then of course smart East Africa hivyo ndio story ni nyamaza, so tunamuomba isiishe hivyo iendelee.
Now, across our borders, Liverpool have clinched the 2024-2025 Premier League title, securing the 20th English top flight crown with a dominant 5-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspur at the Anfield. The win, driven by goals from Luis Diaz, Alexis McAllister, Cody Gakpo, Mohamed Salah, and an own goal, sealed the club's first league triumph under manager Arne Slot in his debut season. This historic achievement draws Liverpool level with Manchester United's record of 20 league titles, marking their second Premier League's era championship after the 2019-2020 season. Salah's 28th league goal this season further cemented his legacy. Captain Virgil van Dijk praised the team's resilient, while jubilant fans witnessed their first in-person title celebration since 1990. The Reds will lift the trophy on May 25th against Crystal Palace. Now that is it from us tonight. As we were beginning this broadcast tonight, I mentioned about those who are active on social media aware of the documentary on Blood Parliament, and IPOA released their statement on the status of the report finding the status update on IPOA investigations into the conduct of police officers during the 2024 anti-finance bill mass demonstrations. And according to the report, as per the 60 cases of death reported with IPOA, IPOA says they have completed 22 investigations, 36 are under pursuit as we are speaking, and 2 are currently in court as we speak. And according to IPOA, Eldoret had 3 death cases reported, Kisumu 6, Nakuru 4, Kakamega 6 cases, Meru 1 case, Mombasa 3 cases, Nyeri had 8 cases, and Nairobi 29 cases. So according to IPOA, the investigation is still on, and the report by the documentary by BBC is under review. I don't know what's your thought on the same. Join me tomorrow very early in the morning on Biashara Tuesday as we dissect everything that has been happening, as we dissect the documentary, as we dissect your opinions on the same. And if you also like your opinion to be shared publicly, you will also interact with us. We will be at KUTV Kenya. This is at KUTV News Kenya on YouTube, but for tomorrow we'll be live on KUTV Kenya. That marks the end of our broadcast tonight. Thank you so much for choosing our news tonight and for staying with us this far. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Eugene Wafula, and I'm Anyango Sylvia. Have a good night.